going on, everybody? Welcome to the Let's Talk About It podcast. I am your host, Leon Reed Jones, and this is the place where we turn conversation into application. Today, we got a very special guest. Some of you may know him as Coach Lewis, DLew. Lou, this guy is like a big brother to me. He always giving me free game, whether it's about coaching, basketball, whatever the case may be. My special guest today is none other than Darius Lewis. What's going on, man? How you doing?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you on. And so today's topic is a very interesting topic to me because I'm a real podcast head and I listen to a lot of analysts and things like that, and I love basketball. So just thinking about, I guess I was hearing Stephen A say something, or I hear a lot of athletes, whether it's football, basketball, whatever the case may be, Stephen A gets a lot of flack for the comments that he makes, or different analysts, they get a lot of heat for the stuff that they say about players. And I hear guys like Shaq saying, the players are soft nowadays. They're not like how we were back in the day. And so a lot of players tend not to take that too well. So I guess our conversation today is going to be about, what's the difference, or what's the line between holding a player accountable versus, is this person messing up my legacy? Are they messing up, me potentially getting more money? So I just wanted to pick your brain about that. So what do you feel like, first off, what are grounds for talking about, athletes play? Because again, these people are analysts. They talk about sports. Mm-hmm. So what do you feel like are some do's and don'ts when it comes to analysts critiquing athletes?
I feel like what you kind of said it in your question, in the sense that, it's about the athletes' play.
Yeah.
It's about their game. It's about what they do as a professional. And I think, that's, to me, that's free reign right there. Cause that's what you do, and it's on a public stage. And that's all a part of it. But I think when it becomes personal, when it goes into family, when it starts going into, things that have nothing to do with the sport and the job, then that to me seems like it's starting to get a little bit out of bounds.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, from what I see, a lot of times people's oh, Stephen A is Uncle Tom, or this guy hating, or he messing up, people's money. Or the running thing in football is the Cowboys get a lot of heat and other teams don't get a lot of heat. When they're playing good, they don't really talk about it. But when I'm playing bad, y'all harp on that. Or I think about situations even with Kwame Brown. Obviously he wasn't the best player, but Stephen A, I never heard anything from him talking about what you said personally, or any analyst. There are some analysts that do attack personally, but I feel this perception of analysts, that's their job. If the man didn't say anything about your family, your wife, or something like that, or your kids, then I don't understand what the issue is. And I think a lot of times it's if you shot 0 for 10, you shot 0 for 10. I can't say you made all 10 shots when you didn't do that. We watching the game. I'm only talking about what we seeing on the game. So it's just, sometimes it's kind of crazy. And the reason why I think about it the way I do is because you got a lot of players that's man, dang, you talking about me so crazy. This can mess up a potential situation for me. I may not be able to get money, but it's there are narratives, and anybody who know me know I'm big on narratives. People can create narratives in an instance. If 10 people say oh man, you terrible.
Right.
Even you're not even a terrible guy, but if you get a good number of people, whether it's the truth or not, that's a running narrative now. So it's I look at it because my whole thing is, I think sometimes you can stop somebody from getting to a bag, but then on the flip side, it's I don't know, because the fact he's only speaking on facts, and not even just Stephen A, just a whole bunch of analysts. I've seen KG say things about people. I've seen Paul Pierce. I've seen other ex-NBA players. I've seen Shaq say some things.
Yeah.
But it's like, when Shaq said, it's like nobody really tripping off it. It's like, dang, why? Only one person I've seen like come at Shaq like that, and that was KD and JaVale McGee. Other than that,
Yeah.
it was like, I don't know. Or like, I guess I can give a better example of like what I mean when I say, if an analyst is talking bad about a player, how I can ruin something. So like, Shaq for years was talking bad about Dwight Howard, like he's not the Superman. I'm Superman. I was Superman first, and how Dwight Howard is not serious. Boom, boom, boom. But if you watch Dwight Howard, you know his personality is silly and stuff like that. But because of like narratives of him not being as serious, he's left off a list like the top 75. When it's like it's a lot of dudes on there that shouldn't even be on there. But you can't argue with his numbers. He's been to the finals. He actually has a championship with the Los Angeles Lakers, and he actually contributed to that team. But it's like this narrative of Dwight Howard. Now you see he's playing overseas. So like when you look at situations like that, like how do you feel about that, being a coach or like knowing the game and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think just from everything you kind of said, if I'm a player and I'm so concerned with what people are saying about me, to me at some point it starts to become like a victim mentality.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you said, you got the stats, you got the numbers, you got whatever. You got all of this evidence of this is why people are saying that. And to me it's like, you know, if you don't like what's being said,
right,
change what you can change.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, you know, whatever. You always gonna have people who say whatever that you just don't disagree with. I feel like that just comes with the territory.
Right.
But it's like if it's really something that is valid and can be validated with information and evidence of how you played in the game, or like, you know, like you said, your stats, you know, change it.
Yeah.
You know, change it. And now they got to talk about something else. But so, you know, first thing, that's where I would start with it. But then it's also from the flip side, if I'm the analyst, I think a lot of times too, we don't really know what type of relationships these people have outside of what we see.
Yeah.
So, you know, you even kind of mentioned just Shaq saying something versus a Stephen A saying something, or, you know, this analyst versus that analyst. When you're talking about a Shaq, he's somebody that's played the game. A lot of people probably look up to him. You know, he has a legacy that's respected just within the sport itself. So when he says something, it may feel more like an uncle, more like a mentor perspective, versus when Stephen A, you know, it just might seem like, you know, a hater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think for me, it's like, we don't really know the ins and outs of that type of stuff too. So for KD, it might be like, man, you know, Uncle Shaq was in the back talking to me all cool, but now he on camera and he's saying this and that about me. Yeah. So, you know, it could be stuff like that. But, you know, ultimately to me, it comes down to, okay, if you want a different result, do something about it. Control what you can control to kind of put that out there. If Dwight don't like being called silly, okay, well, it's in your power to change that. But if you are silly and that's how you are, just be silly. Yeah. And go to the silly, go get the silly money.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So that would be my thoughts on that.
Yeah. And somebody else that came to mind, like you see a guy like Russell Westbrook. For so long, he was like one of the top point guards, and then there came, like after he left OKC, or was traded rather to OK, he left and went to the Rockets and played with James Harden. That didn't work out. He went to the Wizards, had a great season, left the Wizards, went to Los Angeles, didn't really have the best season. And like these different narratives that, you know, analysts, you know, make, because in my eyes, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's won the MVP. He's been to the NBA Finals before. I think he's top 10 in assists all time, I believe, or like holds a lot of records for triple doubles. I think he's actually the leader for triple doubles and things like that. So it's like and then you have to think, like, before narratives can be created, like, we have to look at the facts. Like, this man was the number one option or the number two option on majority of the teams that he played on. He went to a situation last season where he was the third option, and then sometimes he wasn't even the option. A lot of times when you look at the film and the games, so for most of his career, even before he got to the NBA, a number one option, and then now you got to go all the way to a third option. But he did play his role well. Then you see how they playing, and now he's on the Clippers now, and you see how he played towards the end of last season, and then you see how they playing and gelling this season. It's like, that's why I go back to the narratives, because a lot of times, people can still be critiquing your game, but they can also create a narrative to where now you running with it like, oh, like, this man ain't a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Just like how I heard Damian Lillard say, like, man, people talk about Charles Barkley like he not Charles Barkley only because he don't got a ring. So the ring is the narrative, like, oh, you can't really talk, but he had a better career than some of y'all favorite players. So it's like, how can you talk about this man like he didn't go to the finals, like he wasn't one of the greatest players of all time, like he's not on the top 75 list. So and just a lot of times I like to draw lines between, different things, because if I'm critiquing your game, that's one thing. If I'm talking about how you was in the club last night, that's a whole different. That don't even have nothing to do with the notes on the table for the subject at hand. But I think also sometimes, like how I mentioned Russell Westbrook, like, I think sometimes analysts can be a little bit too hard, and then now you like, dang, like, this guy, you've never heard anything bad about Russell Westbrook. As much as people say, oh, he turned the ball over too much or he do this, everybody that he's played with says he's a great teammate. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's tough sometimes to see that, but on the flip side, I kind of understand where Stephen A is coming from, because I'm not talking about you personally. I'm not saying you're a horrible father. I just said you had a horrible game last night, and you need to do better. Now, it may sound crazy because Stephen A is very animated and these analysts, they trying to get ratings and all of that. And then back to what you said about, Katie saying, oh, you were singing my praises, behind closed doors, but when you get on here, it's like, dang, I don't even know you no more because the way you talking about me. But, man, I just feel like sometimes the lines get blurred between, what's me doing my job versus like, oh, you don't got no love for me. Like,
for sure.
Prime example, another example, Allen Iverson and Stephen A. It was a lot of things that Allen Iverson did off the court that Stephen A could have talked about. But he like, no, you shot bad. You're not playing like the answer and stuff like that. So I just think sometimes, like, the players, they kind of get like Shaq said a lot of times, like, you can be soft. Like, you had guys like MJ, Charles Barkley, that was heated about the reports, but they went out the next game and dropped 40 or did this or got their team to a win. So I think when it comes to that, you got to show them, like you said, if you want the criticism to stop, then make it stop. You had the power to do that.
Yeah, I think only thing I kind of add to that, I think you use Russell Westbrook, and I think he's kind of a good example of what we talked about. There was a period where Russ was the man. Then there was a period where it was like, oh, Russ, he terrible, he sucked. Like, like, what? They need to trade him, blah, 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 blah. And then now it looked like he coming back around again. And it's like, to me, Russell Westbrook just did what Russell Westbrook was supposed to do. There's ups and downs. Like, anybody that knows, whatever you're trying to do, you chasing success in any way, shape, or form, like, it's gonna be ups and downs. And it's like, he stuck through it. He didn't go to victim mode or, oh, they talking about me and make it a big deal. He just kind of stuck through it, and now you kind of seeing the results of that. So that's one thing. But then on the other side, it's like, everybody's human, man. So I think maybe there probably are some people who legit soft. You know what I'm saying? So that's whatever. That is what it is. But it's also, we all got feelings. So it's like, you might be an analyst and you just in your feelings today. So what's coming out is feeling driven.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it don't really even have nothing to do with the player. It don't have nothing to do with the game. It's just I'm pissed off today.
Yeah.
So now I'm talking about
sure.
all type of stuff I've been wanting to say. And the same thing for players. It's like, you know, they might be hearing this stuff so much that at some point it gets to them, and it's like I gotta say something. Just as a human being.
For sure.
And it might not be right, you know, and I think that's a part of it too. Like, as humans, we got to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I mean, I think a lot of times we try to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's like,
sure,
that's unrealistic. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, I think it's all of that. And I think when you talk about how to deal with it, you address it the way you would address it in any other scenario outside of basketball or outside of the game. You know, if you really felt disrespected by what Shaq said or by what Stephen A said, you address it like a human being. Hey, man, I didn't feel too comfortable with what you said on the screen, and hopefully it goes the right way. But if it goes the wrong way, then you just know I don't rock with Stephen A no more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now every time he say something negative about me, it's cool. It don't even matter because he ain't somebody I rock with no way. You can say whatever you want to say. And then just know when I'm back on top, keep that same energy.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's kind of how I look at it in totality. But yeah, man, it's a part of the territory. It's part of the game.
Yeah, man, that's a fact, man. I agree with everything you said. And so now we're going to move to another segment of the show where I like to call this Let Me Get to Know You. But I edited it a little bit, and now you're going to be the third person to play this game.
Okay.
This, I guess I would say, edited version of this game. And so it's going to be called Fact or Fiction. This is the edition of Let Me Get to Know You. So I'm going to ask you different questions, and you either going to say fact or fiction based on how you feel about it.
Okay.
So my first question is, let's see, basketball-wise. The East versus West All-Star game was better than the way they do it now. Well, they going back to East versus West, but do you think the East versus West All-Star game was better, or when they did like Team LeBron, Team Steph?
I'm gonna say fact that it was better, and I say that just because to me, you know, it was something I looked forward to watching a lot more back then, and then it just seemed a little bit more competitive.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I do think the latest one, the last All-Star game, was a lot better, but up until that point, it was kind of like watered down to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fact or fiction? Stephen Curry is a top 5 point guard of all time.
I'm going to go fact. I'm going to go fact with that one. I mean, just because of I feel like the way he's changed the game is like, you know, just as far as what I've seen over my lifetime is like, it's amazing. It's major. Like, I mean, you got kids all over the world doing all type of different stuff just based off of how Steph Curry and, you know, the Warriors have changed the game in general. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go Steph definitely in top 5.
Yeah, for sure, man. He definitely changed the game for sure. Everybody shooting half court threes they ain't worked on and all that type of stuff. He got 4 championships, I believe.
Yeah,
got 2 MVPs, 1 unanimous greatest shooter of all time. So resume.
The resume is there for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a winning team, like, you know, year in, year out. We don't know about this season just yet, but it's like, you know, yeah. It's tough to say no to that one.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you a few basketball questions based on this season. So if you could give me your top 3 to top 5 players that you like that not everybody may pay attention to, like the Giannis's, the Jokic, and Luka Doncic and stuff like that. So who are some of the guys that you watch or like feel like, man, he got game, but he don't get enough, credit, or he's not one of the top guys, but he for sure got game?
I like SGA. I like, people kind of get this guy credit, but I was talking to somebody recently and they was like, I don't really see him as a star. But so to me, I like Anthony Edwards. I like him a lot. And then, what's the guy? I want to say is Maxey. I can't think of his first name.
Tyrese Maxey.
Tyrese Maxey, yeah. I like all three of them. But AE, I really like his game, man, because to me, he real smooth and he don't have to do too much to be effective. So I really like Anthony Edwards a lot.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I would say for me, I feel like the last 2 years, SGA got a lot of credit, but as far as like a newcomer, because he's been in the league for a minute now, but I would say SGA too. I would say Ant, and I would say Paolo Banchero. Like, I feel like he got a LeBron type of game. And before people were like, oh, no, he's not LeBron, I say he got a LeBron type of game. I didn't say he was LeBron. But I like those three for sure. And he got the All-Star nod this year. So that's good. I'm starting to watch Maxey a little bit more. Actually, one of my homeboys, he kept saying all last season, Maxey was better than Poole. And I feel like now I don't think it was like he was light years ahead of Maxey, but it's like you can see now. Statement. Because Maxey is the second option on the Sixers. And last year, when they had James Harden, he was the third option. And nobody saw Maxey being what he is now. I think he just dropped 51 or 52. But
51.
Yeah, man, like Maxey, he nice for sure. But I would say I like Jalen Williams too. He plays on OKC. He got a nice little game. So I would say those for Banchero, Jalen Williams, SGA, and Anthony Edwards. Now, I'm interested to hear what you would say about this one. So what is a better basketball run, morning runs or night runs, in your opinion?
Man, I done had good times at both, honestly. So I really can't. I don't know if I can choose. Between that, because I've really had some amazing, like, real late night 12 a.m. to like 2 a.m. runs. I done had some early morning runs. I think the trouble though comes in with the early morning. It's just getting people to actually show up early in the morning. But man, I like them both personally. Yeah.
I'm the same way, but I just remember, like, back in college, like how we used to wait for the soccer team to finish up playing in the gym. And then we'll text in the group chat, like, hey, man, make your way to the gym. Like, that just feeling of knowing, like, we about to go hoop. And, like, we got the gym from 11:30 to, like, 1 in the morning. And then a lot of times, like, it'll be weird, though, because, like, we have a set time where we could come hoop, but the cops will still show up. Like, I'm like, what? That makes no sense. But nah, it was just dope, like, seeing that, because I just remember, like, the trash talk, like, me and my friends was doing to other people or, like, each other. Like, definitely good vibes for sure. Especially, like, when you in there with some dogs and, like, people that's, ready to compete, not, like how we say, not making no excuses and stuff like that.
So